Hello guys, back at it in the studio. So this section we're gonna do the 3/4 view. We did the front view and the side view over here last time. So now we're gonna be moving into the 3/4 view. So if you have a skull, I would encourage you to turn it to a 3/4 view. Either it could be right or left side 3/4. And let's begin. So this is going to be, I guess, more of the trickier view, but if you approach it in the same way, it should be pretty similar. And this is the view that's going to give us the most depth in the image because we're getting all the front, the side, and the three. Like it's a little bit of the front and the side combined to create this 4D because we're seeing the front and we're also seeing the side. So it's going to give us the most dimension. So I start out with my top-ish line, my bottom-ish line. Now I say like bottom-ish, top-ish, because I put in sort of this thicker kind of patchy line sort of. So it's not like I'm drawing this perfectly lined with a ruler. I'm just taking a big blocky sort of hatch for a top and bottom, so I'm able to kind of slightly be able to move it slightly up and down, but still staying in that, so it's less stiff, right? And there's different things of never moving. There's top and bottom lines, but I like to give it a slight flexibility so it doesn't feel like you're so restricted. So now the next thing, I just want to move that wire out of my way. I want to use my full arm again, right? So I'm going to look at the cranial part here slanting down. And then I'm going to look for that jaw right there. I'm going to get that diagonal I'm going to look for the cheekbone to the bottom of the jaw and get that diagonal in there. I'm going to kind of general block in that. Then I'm going to look for, the next, maybe a vertical line for, there's eye socket parts right there. Then throw in the diagonal there. Then I'm going to look for that strong diagonal of the jawbone right here. So that's going to be pretty prominent. So I'm going to put that in pretty strong. Going to restate this diagonal here. And I'm sort of like, as I'm throwing that in, I'm sort of throwing in a background value in a way too. So take that into thought as well. So I'm refining this shape of the cranium right here, but not spending too much time on it. Just, each part I'm spending like not even a minute on. So then I'm going to go to the back of the cranium, try to look from front to back and try to find, how much, like kind of drawing you could draw a diagonal up from this chin, and that'll give you the general facial area. So if you do that, if you want to, kind of erase, get it a little bit cleaner. And then stand back a little bit, right? Take a little bit of a break, take a drink of water, take a breath, and just kind of evaluate it at this point. And then when you're ready, come back and make those adjustments that you see need to be made. So if I look at that diagonal that comes up from the chin, it's going to give me that eye socket. And then right behind it, a couple feet behind it, it's going to give me that sort of jaw. And now I want to squint down and see, that cranium slanting downwards to give me that. Now I'm really throwing this down pretty aggressive. You want to be pretty aggressive, I would say. It's, you know, it's the stage for that kind of thing. So I'm just trying to sort of find my cranium shape with these blocky strokes here. I noticed that this kind of maybe could stick out farther, stronger diagonal possibly. And kind of chop into that with the eraser. Now see, this view, it might take us longer than say maybe the front and the 3/4 view, just because of it's a bit more complex, but it's still the same approach. It's just slightly more difficult. But once you get into the process, it actually becomes very similar. It doesn't really matter the what rotation of the skull is. So I'm throwing in them eye sockets pretty early on, throwing in that nasal passage pretty early on, finding that zygomatic there. It's going to be pretty strong diagonal. Then I'm going to stand back and evaluate it again. So yeah, it's pretty, you know, it's not correct quite yet, but we're just kind of working through it. So it's not going to be, don't expect that right away. So I'm really thinking about these big abstract shadow patterns. And I'm definitely, the side view and the front, like the side view definitely, like I was more linear, I felt. But with this one, I'm really trying to, because it's a 3/4 view, it's a little bit of a more difficult view, somewhat. So I wanted to kind of use these abstract kind of shadow shapes to kind of help me navigate it a bit better, and then slightly go in with some linear elements, sort of going on top of those and refining those sort of choppy, shadowy patterns that I put in. So I might have the chin a little bit too wide, which is fine, because all you have to do, since you kept it loose, is just kind of chop in with the shadow. You don't even have to get out the eraser. Just make sure if you have, sometimes those are eraser crumbs from whatever eraser you're using. Even a kneaded eraser can sometimes leave a little bit of residue. So just make sure you kind of get that stuff out of the way, because I can sort of make the drawing a little bit harder than it should be. So I'm trying to just keep honing in on the proportion at this point, throwing constantly, sort of searching for these shadow patterns that are going to describe it. And it might seem like we're going like too fast, but that's sort of the purpose of these exercises at this stage, because we don't want to get caught up in slowing down so much, because we can do that in the later stage. And what we want in this stage is that loose, raw energy we want. Sorry about that, the camera my thing's dying out, so I might have to end this a bit shorter than I want it, but we can go back to it. So we're at the 10-minute mark right now, so I'm kind of throwing in a general superciliary crest here, that kind of wide V shape that we kind of seen here. You don't really see it as much on the side view, it's a bit more ambiguous, but we just throw that in real quick. Maybe the chin could be pitched a little bit because it is turning to our this side here, whatever side that be for you. And then I'm throwing in a little bit of that background tone for me to be able to shape that cranium bit, brushing away some of those leftover residue from the crumbs of the eraser. Now stepping back for a second or two, or a minute or two, I mean. So yeah, it's very, it's gonna look loose, it's gonna look slightly messy, but it's, it's organized chaos. Like, it's not, we don't want anything to be finalized in this stage. So, point of it is to just throw in sort of a best guess. It's sort of you're almost reacting, like making a quick reaction to what it is you're drawing, and then just making that statement, and then slowly going into a more refined statement. Kind of trying to make sure that this diagonal of the jaw is strong enough. So it's very important to capture this particular skull's shape. So I'm using the background value here as a way to shape out this jawline and get that bottom of the cranium, or this, that right around that mastoid process we have over there. Also, I noticed that, maybe this cranium could be pushed slightly up, but we still want to keep that kind of strong, somewhat strong diagonal coming down. So that gives us a little bit more height to our skull there. And we're at about 15 minutes in. So what I think I'm planning to do, since my my camera's starting to die here, is I'm going to cut it off at this point, and then I will not redo the drawing, but we'll jump back into it with another 15 minutes. That'll give us a total of 30 minutes, which is what we're going for generally, like 20 to 30 minutes on each one of these skulls. And then after that, we'll rotate back to our front view, and we'll progress that further, but not, we're still not going towards the end of the drawing. We're just going to push it a little bit more forward. But first we got to take about 15 more minutes on this guy. So I'm gonna cut the video now so I can charge this iPad and get it up to full charge, and then we can go back to this for another 15 minutes. So, like, subscribe, share, comment, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.